Well, good morning, everyone. I hope that your Tuesday morning is going well. How many of you out there want to learn more about how the real estate market is doing in the area? Hey, everyone. I'm McKee Smith, Senior Real Estate Specialist and Realtor with Competitive Edge Realty. And today, I'm going to be giving an update of the real estate market in the area, basically my prime market area, which is Coppell and the surrounding communities. So Coppell, Texas, and go a little further than just the immediate surrounding communities, go 15 miles in any direction. But generally, all these figures will relate to the surrounding area. If you have any questions, anyone out there, please give me a thumbs up and click on that as soon as you see stuff. You can also post questions in the chat. I will be following along with that. And I hope that everybody is going to enjoy the information. Let's go ahead and get started here. I have a few slides to show you. Okay, let's start off with historical prices, just so we can get a good baseline of where we are and where we have been. This chart goes all the way back to January 2013. And if you take a quick look at it, you can tell that the trend line, even though we have been going down most recently, the trend line over the last 10 years is still going up. And another interesting thing, if you look closely at the trends, because you notice it's not a straight line, it's a kind of wavering going up and down line. Over the last 10 years, historically, June is the busiest, most selling month of the year. Not quite every year, but generally it is. And January is historically the lowest selling month. Over the last 10 years, June averages 16% more in prices of average sale prices than June does, or than January does. Now, I went ahead and threw out January and June 2020, because while January 2020 was normal, everyone here is going to remember that June 2020 most certainly was not. We were coming out of the lockdown. Dallas County was not allowing anybody to get out of the house. In fact, realtors were told you cannot leave your home for several weeks. Now, so that's why I threw out June of 2020. Otherwise, like I said, June is 16% higher than January. Now, if you look at the chart, you're going to see that this January, there was a big drop. Yes, there was. And people who go, oh my gosh, it's horrible that the market might be collapsing or something like that. Well, I could tell you that it went down all the way to the same level as January 2021. So that's, it went back. It's not like it's a crash by any means. We lost 2 years worth of gain during a 2-year period when we had some of the most explosive gains ever in our history. Now, if the average is maintained, that is, June's are 16% higher than January, then this coming June 2023, the average price should be around $343,000, which is even higher than last November and is 89% of June 2022, last June. So those who are looking at the numbers going, oh my gosh, things are just dying and crashing, well, it's just not really the case. Okay, let's go and look at our next chart, which is asking price versus sales price. Now, what does that mean? Or initial asking price versus sold price. What does that mean? When a home is first listed on the MLS, that is the initial asking price. Generally, the initial asking price is something that the seller, the homeowner who is selling their home, comes up with in consultation with their realtor. Sometimes the realtor does not recommend a price that the homeowner really wants, but the homeowner is the one who makes the decision, so that is the price it's listed at. That's the initial price. The sold price is after you go back and forth with the buyer. This is what everyone finally agrees on and is the actual price for which something has sold. Now, I've gone back 12 months with our asking versus sold as a percentage. Now, if you look at the chart, you can obviously see that the asking, what they're actually getting versus what they asked for initially, was going down after June 2022. What's going on, you might ask? Well, it was really simple. Back at that time, you might remember the housing market was just absolutely going wild. During portions of very early 2022, end of 2021 and start of 2022, houses were appreciating at 20% a year. The market could not sustain a 20% a year increase. And people selling their houses actually were getting upset because their house would go up 2 or 3% if they went under contract and it took 30 days to close. The value of their house could have gone up 2 or 3%. So we actually had people getting upset and wanting to get out of their contracts at the end because they could have gotten 2 or 3% more. Again, that is not sustainable. So what happened in around June of 2022? Things started to balance out, and buyers were no longer willing to simply say, how much over asking should I write the check for? It dropped back down to, I'm going to write for asking or what other homes in the neighborhood are going for. Now you'll notice that there was a decline all the way up into December of what the asking price versus the sold price was. What was happening? Were the prices declining? Well, not exactly. What was happening was sellers were still expecting to get a 20% increase. I know that what my neighbor got, so I should be able to add 10 or 15% to that. My neighbor sold it 2 months ago. I should be able to add 10% to that, and that's what I want to list the house at. Well, people stopped paying that kind of rate, and you will notice that housing prices, the percentage of sold versus asking declined all the way into December. What happened in January? Well, sometime during December and into January, sellers started taking the advice of their realtors and realizing that buyers today are not the buyers of last June. Buyers today are not going to just automatically pay higher than asking price because prices aren't accelerating like they were. And what happened? Suddenly you'll notice that it went from just a little over 80% of asking price. Suddenly, in January, sellers were getting almost 15% over their asking price. Things started to balance out. Or they were actually getting about 10% over the asking price. Now, we don't have the February numbers yet, but the preliminary numbers from February show that it's around 104% of asking price. So again, we're bouncing back up. People are starting to get slightly over their asking price because they're asking reasonable and rational amounts. Okay, let's move on to the next slide here. And I put the button, and we have months of inventory. What does months of inventory mean? Well, that would be how many months it would take to sell all of the current houses on the market if no new houses came on the market. And right now, it would take just over 3 months to sell all the houses that are currently on the market if no new ones came on the market. What does that mean? Why is that important? This number is used to determine whether we are in a buyer's market or a seller's market. If you're in a buyer's market, that means that the buyer is in a very strong position. They are actually in a stronger position than the seller and are able to negotiate better deals for themselves. When we're in a seller's market, which we have been for a number of years, sellers have most of the power, and sellers, there are far more buyers than sellers. How do you tell the difference? Well, generally, a balanced market, when both of these two sides are equal, is considered 6 months of inventory. When it's less than 6 months of inventory, the sellers are the ones who are in control. When it is more than 6 months of inventory, buyers are in control. Now, if you look at the chart, you will see it is steadily advancing from less than a month in May, less than a month of inventory, I guess basically right at a month of inventory. Then in June, July, up until October, you had about 2 months of inventory. Then November, December, part of the December function is you don't have as many houses on the market. But now November and January, we're jumping up to 3 months. Again, we don't have the full numbers for February, but right now the preliminary numbers for February is again showing a 3-month inventory. Things are trending to where our total inventory is going up, which means the super strong buyer's market that we have been in is getting a bit weaker. It is still a strong buyer's market. Won't be a weak buyer's market until we get up to around 5 months of inventory. But if you are considering selling sometime this year and aren't sure when, looking at this trend, selling sooner rather than later might be the way for you to get the best price for your money, the best price for your home. Well, that's a basic summary of where we are. And again, all of these numbers are not the whole of DFW. It is what I am calling the North Central DFW area, centered on Coppell and going around 15 miles out in all directions technically from the intersection of 35 and 121, the 121 tollway, 15 miles out in every direction from that. So that's where the numbers are coming from. I hope everybody found this information interesting. And if you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'm going to kind of keep an eye looking over here, seeing if I see any comments coming up. If you're watching this recorded, as most people will end up watching it recorded, still post comments and still click on emojis as you come up. If you post a question in the comments, I'm going to be watching this and come back and answer the comments after the fact. So I'm watching a little bit more. If I see a question pop up, there's a little bit of a delay between when you type the question and when I will actually be able to see it. That pretty much wraps up where we are today. I want to conclude by telling everyone, if you have a question about real estate, you want to find out what the process is to get to buy or sell a home, want to find out what your home is worth, just have any kind of question like that, There is a link at the top of the comments that is a no obligation consultation. Click on that link. You will go to a web page where you can answer a few questions, and I will get back to you and give you, again, no obligation whatsoever to be able to answer the questions. If you know anybody who has a question, please feel free to forward them either this video or the link to the consultation. I would greatly appreciate it. That's it for today. I hope everyone will have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks with my next Facebook Live. Bye for now.